Welcome to another exciting episode of the Isaac Boys Podcast. Doing the Ghosts alongside Terrorizing, alongside a good friend of ours that's been almost a regular here at the lounge. Go ahead and introduce yourself, sir.
My name is Howard Jones. I'm a local author of published many different books, and this is my most recent book here, Julianne, Queen of the Ruins.
There you go. Mr. Howard is one of our local authors, like he said, very talented author. He brought his book with him, so we're gonna get into that in just a little bit. But yeah, we missed last week due to weather.
Weather
and
well as
there's a couple situations happening last week, which tends to be tends to happen a lot as of late. We have been running into a lot of hiccups and stuff, but unfortunately, we regret to inform you guys that last week our grandmother passed away.
Yep.
So that on top of the weather, the storm this past now Hurricane Fiona. So that's why we missed last week. But yeah. So that being said, for those of you that know us and know us personally, of course, and some of you have already sent your condolences. We do appreciate that. Funeral arrangements are next week.
They're going to be October 1st to my if anything doesn't change. So yeah.
Yep. Outside of that, I again accept a lot of congratulations from the following week's episode with, of course, we announced the baby. Baby is still doing good. She is growing. She's keeping me up. I'm getting as little sleep as possible. But that's comes with raising a child. But again, thank you for all the kind words and well wishes and all that good stuff. But yeah, enough of that. We do have any announcements? Yeah, we do have the tournament coming up.
Yes, tournament Sunday. This Sunday is our Smash Brothers tournament.
Mm-hmm.
If anyone that wants to get in early, there's still a chance to get the early pricing. Because of course, day of, the price does go up. So last week to get in on that. Actually, it's Thursday now, so the week is almost over. You got a few more days left.
Yep.
Anyone that has not
Signed up yet?
But I'm definitely looking forward to it. We haven't done a tournament in a while. A video game tournament. We've done Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments, but we haven't done a video game tournament in a while, and it's always fun when we do. The atmosphere is always electric. I'm looking forward to it.
It's gonna be a good vibe.
And believe it or not, this particular tournament has a lot of entries that was not in our other tournaments.
Yeah.
Which is surprising to me.
Yeah, usually we do a Smash tournament, you usually see the same usual suspects, but this one there's a lot of new faces. So
it's gonna be very interesting. I'm looking forward to see. And of course, we are still doing the Mortal Kombat tournament as well, same day, so we can give this guy away. Finally. Yeah. Story about that. We planned a Mortal Kombat tournament. Nobody showed up. We still have the trophy. We need to do it. We need to get rid of it.
So we're doing a free Mortal Kombat tournament. So anyone that signs up for the Smash tournament can just hop on over to that too as well. Or anyone that's in the audience that's watching the tournament can hop on and join that. Try your luck. See if you're any good. Hey, even I might even join.
There you go. This week in the lounge, business as usual. We've actually had a lot of new people coming through this week, which is becoming the norm. Every time we do this segment of the podcast, a lot of fresh faces. Always good to see in the lounge. And we are working on some upgrades for the lounge as well.
Yep.
So, looking forward to. We don't want to. We could disclose, but not really. It's just
we'll hold off until it's actually finished. But we're still planning to do the extra station. That's one thing that we can announce, and then we do have some other things in the works that will, make the lounge a little bit more.
Make life a little better in the lounge in terms of.
There you go.
For the regulars, anyway, for the people that are always here, and run into a little, not really hiccup, but there's always something people always look for in the lounge that's not here, but it will be here. I'll put it that way.
There you go.
And so competitively, there's a lot of fighting games being played as well in the lounge.
So it does open up the door for more tournaments.
More tournaments in the future, which is good. Looking forward to. Also, Halloween is coming up, and we were planning
a costume party. Turns out someone stole our idea, our original idea, which we still might go ahead and do it anyway. Cause
I don't know.
well, I feel because most people from our demographic would probably want a more laid back situation, and I think that's what we provide. Since we are a smaller venue and we do have our regulars, it'd just be a party for our regulars pretty much. I don't see anything wrong with that. But yeah, as you said, it's Chicken and Bowling, I think.
Chicken and Bowling is doing a comic book / anime themed costume party for
which
Halloween.
is what we were gonna do.
Which is what we were gonna do. But that one does. I think it is. Well, we're actually plugging it here. I guess it is a $10 charge for that one.
I was gonna be free, so
There you go.
Good advantage.
There you go. But yeah, those are a little bit of what's coming down the pipeline in terms of the lounge. In terms of games we're playing,
maybe we can hold off on that and get into
Howard's
our guest there.
Mhm.
'Cause I know he has a lot to cover. So, without any further ado, of course, like we mentioned before, a good friend Howard here, and like we said, he's a local artist or author rather. And you have how many books have you written so far?
So far it's been 3 books, though I've only been pushing my first book and then this book. Yeah,
Mhm.
second book kind of had a bit of like formatting issues, I guess you'd say. So I've been like pushing it as heavily. One of these days I really plan to like get back into pushing it and trying to see if I could find a better company to help me like format it and stuff like that.
Okay. So this book, tell us about this one we have here today. It's Queen of the
Ruins.
Queen of the Ruins.
Julianne.
Tell us about the book without spoiling it.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. Basically, the whole premise for Julian is that in a time after people, a time after we've like no longer here, and I probably won't say exactly why not, but there's just no more people like us left,
Mm.
and then what's left behind of St. Thomas is these little tiny people about like yay big,
Okay.
who are kind of like living in the ruins and living in like what remains of our world, our culture and stuff like that. And they're very similar to us in some ways, but also very different, being the size difference and just a different world to them, as well.
Mhm.
So this story is just like a matter of, how I like to call it, a record of their history. I kind of like write my stories as they would be, a recounting of some legendary time. That's kind of how I like to do my stories. So this is one part of their like, long record of their history.
Very interesting. And how long have you been writing, Howard?
Okay, like writing like books is probably since high school, which probably was like I guess I'd say like 2014, 14, 15.
Mhm.
But for writing as a whole, it's probably since I like first learned how to write. So I've probably been writing since they taught me how to write in kindergarten, which I can still remember. Just, my teacher just was like teaching me to form a letter, and I was like, I could do something with this. This is kind of cool. This is how y'all make words, and
Mm.
yeah, I've always just been writing stuff since then.
Oh. Very cool. So a lot of your work now, you said you have 3 books. I'm pretty sure you have some, unpublished stories or stories you probably have written before that maybe led to these, that build up to these stories that you actually published. As far as the writing process goes, how many of the, I guess, untold gems you'd say would contribute to the actual finished products of your stories?
Because with Julian is like it's such a very far and different story, but I've actually had the idea for this one since high school. Actually, I thought back about it. I just never put any serious effort into it because I think it was some kind of competition it was or something that I was doing, and I just drew up a little story, and it's like I found it because the whole idea of the story was that this little tiny hero was wandering around like I guess what remains of the school and trying to figure out what it was and stuff like that. And at the time that hero didn't really have a name or a purpose exactly. It was just something I just put together, but I was just like this.
Might be some more here.
Yeah, like this is such an interesting idea of, how would somebody think of our world if they were never from it, Like they never lived in this, it's I play a lot of games where, Skyrim when you're walking around the Dwemer ruins. I have a game like Kenshi where you're walking through. Like I really got the interest in the idea of that way. You be playing through and you're just there like, how did these people live? Who were these? But you don't have anything else except what they left behind. So that's something I guess contributed to that. And eventually I made this into something bigger through time.
Now the book is a story format. It's the cover does have if you can see it on the camera there, does have that nice anime aesthetic on the cover, but it is a novel format. Have you ever? I mean, just judging from the cover alone, have you ever considered maybe doing manga or?
Like, I honestly wish I could have. I feel like that format would have, especially for this book, really brought it alive. And, because there's so much interesting and different stuff with this book. Like, my first series, like, Edafos, is like, it's still, I feel, unique in so much as I wrote it. And that, of course, will make it unique to the author. But, aesthetic-wise, you wouldn't tell it too much apart from any other fantasy type of situation too much. But with Julianne now, it's like everything is, I haven't personally at least seen much like Caribbean, West African based stories of this nature. So it's like, it would have probably been like, really my original idea was to have a lot more images in the book to give you an idea of how certain places or characters looked and stuff like that, though that would have been really expensive to do since our party isn't there yet, but it would have really benefited it to kind of have that and even more than that, just to show
more of the world
and just even that is like show our style, our cultures look, that kind of deal, to show that in a format that everyone in the world could see, to know that, I guess we exist and we're interesting too.
Yeah, there you go. I really do like that aspect about the story about when you're talking about culture and whatnot, and being in a novel format, it leaves a lot of the interpretation to the reader.
Yeah, which is good to some degree in any case. It's good to have people be able to imagine stuff how they would want it to be imagined, or at the same time, like I said, the same way how I would have trouble, writing about snow because I've never seen it. Someone reading this story might have a hard time imagining certain stuff because they don't exactly
never seen it.
I can't describe to someone reading this from Norway. Like, I could describe an iguana to them, but
yeah, if you ever seen one,
yeah, it's not the same thing as if you're physically seeing it,
So there's obviously this book would definitely appeal more to Caribbean people.
Yeah, that's mainly the target audience.
Okay. And maybe there's something there. Maybe there's an avenue there where we can turn this into not just a manga, but who knows? Maybe if we get the right team involved, an anime, maybe.
Yeah,
you gotta dream big. It sounds like wishful thinking, but you never know. I think the story is interesting enough, and I think there's something there. It's just a matter of finding out how to water those seeds and have them bloom.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah, I realize that there's been a rise in anime culture in the Caribbean on a whole. I think, more recently, you're seeing even like Saint Lucia. They did the Great Piton. I don't know if you've ever seen that trailer with the kind of
I love that.
Yeah.
I've been waiting for that to actually drop an anime, but it doesn't seem like that's gonna be the case. But the trailer is great. It was a great trailer, and it did get a lot of buzz. And I think I would like to see more of that come from the Caribbean, because anime culture has been very prevalent here for a long time, and it's good to see that that we not only can consume the Japanese that part of the world's anime or animated studios work, but it'd be good to produce our own and maybe have maybe borrowed from, but I have our own art style even. I think that'd be a good thing to even put us on the map, like you said, and make the Virgin Islands, let people know hey, we're here and we are interesting as well. But yeah. But I'm very cool. Outside of this book, do you have anything that you're working on, maybe currently, that the readers that that probably get a chance to read this and they want more? Is there anything in the pipeline coming down? Maybe a sequel or something completely new, or
Yeah, I'm still working on the sequel for this. I'm actually almost finished with the sequel for this already. I just need to, actually, stop being lazy and draw like the, prototype for the cover and like put them together and probably get that sent to the artist I was commissioning for this one to get it done. So I could just speed through the process a bit easier. But as for the story itself, it's almost finished right now. It's about 75% or more, 75 to 80% completed.
Okay.
And I mean, a lot of people. I mean, if you can't really get it on camera, but one thing that really attracted me, not only the cover, but the overall quality of the book, I think was I think it's really done really well. I'm trying to get as much of this on the camera as you guys can see, because we do have a lot of local art authors that they try to put their own books together, and they try to do their own printed literature, but I think the avenues that they take may the overall product end up being not as it doesn't look like something that you'd see on a shelf. You know what I mean? It looks like
doesn't look as polished.
it doesn't look as polished. There's some I mean, and it's not no fault on theirs. It's just a lack of knowledge and whatnot. And obviously you took all the right avenues to get a finely polished product that this is something that you can see in any library or any bookstore. This is a fully fleshed out a book. You know what I mean? It's I do love the presentation, and that's one of the first things that attracted me to it, because for someone like yourself, I mean, somebody sees something like this, they'll think maybe there's a team behind, but a lot of people don't realize it's just you, really.
Yeah, I mean to some degree it's like I guess it necessarily isn't a team for the story itself, but when it came so much to the actual creation of the book, our local, I don't know if you know the Johannes Lee.
I do know Hans, yeah.
Yeah, he's the one who helped me design and actually format it like this. Like I got the cover and the story and everything like that, but he's the one that helped me turn it into like actual book. He's the one who taught me the whole process.
Interesting. We just saw him like a few minutes ago before we were coming over.
Yeah. So he's actually the one who and who helped like I guess with the early promotion. Like he just really helped a lot, because I mean I knew him before from his Anansi stories and stuff like that. We talked about it before. So when I said I was making something that's also Caribbean based, and I don't know if I say it wasn't say like an inspiration in terms of the story, but an inspiration in starting the story. He kind of was that, because to see someone put that Anansi story together in a very also high quality stuff, I was like, yeah, I could do that too,
Yeah.
So he was a big help when it came to the process.
Good to know. I didn't even know he was into that kind of stuff. I don't think I've heard of the Anansi story, but I didn't know he had something to do with that. So I need to, next time I see him, I'll definitely pick his ear on on that. But yeah, maybe even get him on the podcast as well.
I recommend it.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of authors and the versions, a lot of people don't realize, because the unfortunate thing is that not a lot of people like to read. So there's when there's stuff like this available, like you don't really get to hear as much about it as you would like, because again, people don't like to read.
Yeah,
so
that's honestly like a big thing, because my first books, when I first put them out, I had a lot of trouble, like I guess you say competing, because one, those books my first books is about like 500 plus pages. So couple that with it being like that kind of like Lord of the Rings type fantasy type of stuff, it was very hard to really like pull people in, because it's like so far outside their realm, unless they were already into that,
Yeah.
So with this one now, that's and the other thing I noticed too is a lot of people, as much as parents here, and I honestly have to say this, as much as the parents here and the teachers here and the government here and everyone here says, oh, we need to get more people to read, they don't read.
Facts.
They want their kids to read. They throw their kids some books and say, go read this, be smart, and so I was like, when I realized that, I was like,
that's a really good point.
Yeah, I was like, wait, I could use this, as unfortunate as it is, I could use this. So, I kind of put together something, because this is mainly targeted towards that 12 and up group. I kind of wrote it specifically so that it would fit that group and higher, So that's kind of how I aim it for. So, either people are going to buy the books for themselves, or they're going to buy it for kids, younger siblings, that kind of stuff, you know. And more importantly than that, because I don't want people to just read for the sake of reading. I actually, you know, as much as you would think an author would before reading, I don't like the idea of people just throwing their kids and say, read because I say so, read so you could. No, I want you to read because you actually enjoy it. That's how you actually get people to read. If they read what they don't enjoy, that's going to make a hatred of reading. That's what turns people away from books. And to some degrees, I mean, this is my biased opinion, but some of the reading challenges when I was younger, you know, really pushed me away from books because, you know, the Department of Education, whoever does it, I don't know if I could throw shade or blame. I don't really know who puts it. Well, I don't think they know what books they were giving people, what grade they were given to. They don't know anything about the books. Because I read some crazy stuff they gave to middle school kids and yeah, so I said I could probably do something better than this. Not to say I'm better than the books, so the books themselves weren't bad. They just were getting sent to the wrong demographic.
Yeah, they weren't demographic appropriate.
So I was like, I could do something better than this, and that's what I did. I want to make something that people want to read. I want kids to like look at this thing and say, hey, this looks interesting. Read it and be like, I want to read more. Stuff like this, you know. That's what I want to do. I want people to like the reading so they could read, not read because
you're told to. Or
yeah.
Very good point.
So I mean, other than, you know, your books and whatnot, what else what does Howard do in his spare time?
Getting
to know Howard.
Yes. Well, I mean, I used to do a lot of gardening, and I'm kind of getting back into it. I had stopped for a while.
Green thumb.
Yeah, well, kind of. You know, I used to grow out of tomatoes and peppers and stuff like that.
Really?
St. Thomas is not a bad place agriculturally. It just takes a bit more effort because it's dry and the bugs are a bit different. But you know, it's something I really like to do. And besides that, you know, I like to play out the games and stuff like that. And you know, some of the games I played, like I said, you know, has any effect on my writing in that sense. You know, so you know, like one of the games I played, it's called Kenshi. It's like a very squad-based weird indie game. It's like this mix between Mad Max and an old samurai movie.
Interesting.
Yeah, you know, a bunch of samurai running around the desert rocking people. You know, was a big inspiration for Julian, you know, despite kind of how different they would be, but you know, it's an interesting idea, you know, where you have people after, you know, civilization or things just generally fall apart, still kind of like, you know, just on share spite, willpower, love, who knows, just still clinging to life, and sometimes even flourishing on what's left, you know. That was like a big, because the Kenshi community, the world itself has a story, but it's not really told physically. Like, we don't have a big list to say,
this is what happened here.
Yeah, you know, we kind of have to just look at some fancy looking rocks in a corner and say, I don't know what this was, but it means something, and we kind of have to figure out what that is from. Because it created so much conversation and discourse in the community about, like, you know, what is, what isn't, what happened, you know, like we were kind of like archaeologists in there, like, you know, in their world trying to figure out what happened in the past, and I was like, this is so interesting, and I kind of like, that's kind of, to some degree, not so much in this first book is a big deal, but later on in the story that will be a big deal where, you know, Julie and her friends kind of end up in groups that are like really trying hard to figure out
What's going on in the world?
Yeah, not even just the past of what happened to us, you know, they're not just looking at the big ruins that are left behind and who they came from. They're also even looking at their own history because they already had their own collapse too. You know, they're also still reading from, you know, a past that was almost just as destructive as ours, you know. So they're also trying to figure out what their own history is too.
Yeah.
And what platform is that game on?
It's mainly a PC game. I play a lot of weird indie PC games that, you know, somehow exist in a space of being my comfort games, but also frustrate me to no end. Like RimWorld, very much my comfort game until a fight breaks out or someone catches the flu, then it starts being a comfort game and I panic. You know, but I play lots of very weird and interesting indie games on Steam mainly.
Steam, okay, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I mean, Xbox has done a good job of bringing over a lot of indie games as well too. I'm not familiar with that one, but it's something to look into. Is it more RPG like, action RPG, turn based? Is it?
Yeah, well, Kenshi is more like it's not return, but it's more like a open world type of like so
Kind of like Breath of the Wild, kind of.
how would I say that? They just kind of just drop you. It's kind of like, it kind of plays almost like a RTS, but instead of it just being like you control a group, because you can't control a group, but you could just control your own character. Because kind of you like looking down, you could choose what to do. But the game is very much, it just drops you in the desert and it just shoots you off and be like, don't get eaten, don't die, or do die. Because you know if you play this, like a lot of people play the game, they hop in, walk like 5 steps, something rips off their leg and it bleeds to death in the desert. And the game doesn't even give you like no, you know, like most roguelikes give you a little screen and be like, this is what you did, this is how far you made it. The game doesn't do that. It just keeps going. Like if you die in the desert, the game just keeps playing by itself. It just keeps going. Caravans gonna walk past you, dogs gonna eat your body. You just disappear into the desert. Nothing. I am not even. The game does not care about you at all. That is, you actually start off as like significantly weaker than everything there. Like your stats are in like the zeros and the ones. That's it. That's the best you get. Everything else is higher than that. So you spend most of the game running and trying to survive getting beaten up. But you know, if you make it past that point, then you know you could even start, you know, being someone who affects like the politics and the events of the world. You know, you could decide what groups and factions fall, who rise, things like that. You know, what happens to your people. You know, it's a very open-ended game that, you know, really pulls you in, because you know you would think that because you know there would be no hopes to get you into the world, but you know when you're walking through a certain like the desert and a samurai just says, you know, oh no, you're carrying drugs, and then arrests you and you're in jail now, you'd be like, you know what, screw the samurai, I'll make sure all y'all die. And now that's your story. You're joining the rebels. You're fighting out in the desert. You're trying to take back the sands from, you know, and freeing slaves. You know, it pulls you in because somebody probably wrongs you, or you see someone get wronged. It does something that pulls you into that world. You know, I find that as a very interesting way to get people involved in that world. You know, sometimes it's good to have a quest and a story, and sometimes it's cool to like
Create your own.
Be a little more organic.
and have you be the reason why you want to do it, not because, you know,
The game told you to do it.
yeah, not because some glowing hero from the sky was like in his dying words was like, please save this. You know, you probably just saw a farmer get cropped, and it was like, that's not okay. And you go to rescue him, and he becomes friends, and you're like, you know, we're gonna find the guys who did this to you, you know, and stuff like that. You know, it's interesting.
Definitely sounds like it's worth checking out.
Yeah, you're definitely selling me on this game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's just, I'm just saying it's gonna piss you off, because when like a creature like a beak thing or a dog bites off your leg and you just die in the desert, it's gonna make you mad. It's gonna make you, you know, or when, you know, you're trying to walk into the Holy Nation territory with one of your characters, and they just run to your female character and be like, yeah, now you have to make sure to control your women in these lands. You know, you know, they're the darkened ones. You have to be careful for those. You know, you start feeling like, you know, they're like, don't talk to my person like that. They're emotional. You talk about now. You're involved in the story. You know, the game has a very messed up world, but that messed up world and the injustices in it really pulls you in. Or sometimes you just want to be the one doing the injustices too.
There you go.
Selling us on this game as much as selling your book.
Yeah, that's what I say. It was a big inspiration for all of myself. Like it's a very weird but interesting. I guess my book came too far off because it's also very
Weird and interesting.
yeah. This is not I don't know if I've seen anything else. And I actually worried when I first wrote the book, you know, that it was too weird in that respect. Like, you know, if it was just the Caribbean thing in a post-apocalypse, that would be weird enough. You know, if it was a bunch of tiny people, that would be weird enough. You know, if it was just a story with a bunch of West African influences and Caribbean influences, that would be weird enough. Now I stick all of them together in one. I was kind of worried that it's too far out the realm of most people's understanding, you know. But I mean, so far I've gotten pretty positive reviews on that.
Yeah, I mean, and in a day and age where, you know, stuff like the Marvel Cinematic Universe and stuff like that are becoming more popular, more people are into, like, you know, pretty out there stories as far as like multiverses and, you know, time travel and about, you know, post-apocalyptic things. So I think maybe 10 years ago it would be like out of the realm of most people's, you know, comprehension, but I think in this day and age now more people are into like more out there stories. So
Yeah,
and with a lot of the TV shows that are coming out now too as well, it's I think it just fits right into all of that. So
you know, Black Panther definitely helps because like Yeah, if y'all have like trouble, like if anybody reading this has trouble, like understanding stuff, just like picture a little bit, just take a little like mental inspiration from Black Panther, just like that movie definitely did help to bring those kinds of stuff to like in a light and a life that I mean some people would feel that Black Panther was overhyped or this or that or the other, but to me as a person, like of just me as a black person, seeing us
portrayed that way.
We as I don't want to say the we are kings thing, to see us be out here strong, thriving ourselves in our own way is like I got so accustomed to, and I mean of course the slavery movies are stories that need to be told, of course, but after all the slavery movies and slavery books, when you actually see us out there, saving the day, doing the stuff, have our own place, it was mind-blowing to me, seeing on the big screen.
And we've covered that. I think it was the last podcast. It wasn't it? What was the last podcast? I think so. We
recently. I know
we spoke about that same thing. It's like Black Panther. The whole Black Panther movies on a whole was just like you said. Seeing like those movies are so good. Like they could make 10 more of those movies, and I'll go see every last one of them. Because it's just like you just said. We're so used to seeing, ourselves portrayed a certain way or whatnot. And, I hate to, harp on that demographic. Like, it almost sounds cliche where, like you just like mentioned, like seeing ourselves as kings. It sounds cliche, but it's something that honestly works. It's like, and I guess it's. I'm hopping on too many points now, but like for instance, like the Little Mermaid thing. I really don't want to bring that up on this platform because it's so polarizing and whatever. And I get both arguments, and for people of color, whatever, seeing yourself that way, I think that pales in comparison to I think what Black Panther did, because it's not only seeing ourselves portrayed that way, but it's seeing a whole new culture, something that in the past was looked at as,
less than.
And they didn't shy away from our culture. Like it made African culture cool, because like I personally feel since the Black Panthers movie came out, you're seeing a little more the popularity of Afrobeat music and stuff like that now. Like all that stuff is cool now. And like other cultures are gravitating towards that, something that before was looked at as less than. You know what I mean? Anytime they portray Africa in any movie, it's it's dusty sands, wildlife, but the Black Panther movie showed it in a light that made people almost envious of us. You know what I mean? Now everybody wants to be African or have some kind of African ties. You know what I mean?
Like last time we saw Black royalty in movie, and on that big screen was Lion King.
well, I think, and you know what? To give credit where credit is due, I feel like Coming to America also did that, or they attempted. Like I think they were the first drop in the bucket of attempting to portray African culture.
But even when you saw African culture like before Black Panther, even though they're showing black people as kings and stuff like that, it always looked so foreign that people like people weren't like inspired by it or wanted to be a part of it. It always looked like what a certain group of people thought that African culture looked like, or a certain group of people thought that us as kings would look like. It wasn't done in a way to make it look cool. It was done in a way to make it look like almost comedic sometimes. Sometimes even as this foreign thing that you're kings, but it's different. It's not.
Kings.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not like royalty.
Yeah.
But that's but honestly that's how come like all of that honestly is like a big thing with this, because it's like when I say like I made a walk for this to make it like be its own way, it's kind of like that where it's a lot. Like honestly, there's so much like little things that I've made into like for a best example probably in the story. In their world, they have like a being that certain parts of the island basically, and certain parts of their world, it kind of exists in a state of like feudal societies. So you know the whole like kings and knights and their fight over land and stuff like that. And for them, they kind of use it interchangeably, but they lean more to the side of knights in their world. They call them Zulu, like landed warriors who are wealthy or powerful are known as Zulu. Granted, they don't know what that is, but that's like a term that got passed down through them, and you know, like they don't know what a Zulu really was like that, but they kind of have the idea. But in their world, so you know, and I really wish I had like the skills to draw them, because it's like they're kind of like, you know, would be patterned in like some of like the African like cloths and stuff like that, but like you know they would also have like armor and stuff like that. So you'd have like this armor, but you know like how knights had like something would have like those colorful tabards over them.
Yeah.
So imagine that, but instead it's like instead
African
of it being
print.
like, you know, it's like different like, you know, different prints stuff like that. So they would have that, and they would be. I mean, some Zulu would be royalty, some are just like lower elite, but even beyond that, you know, they still are, you know, that like ruling warrior class, you know. And granted, you know, in this story they're not all some regal stuff. Like some of them really are just bandits with a title. Some of them are the kings, some of them are the princes, and they act accordingly, you know. But you know, I wanted to kind of bring something like that there, you know, where you know because only Zulu movies we've seen is where, you know, they're just out there getting shot by silver bullets by the British. And granted they do. I feel like the movie still kind of gave them a good light, and the documentary still gave them a good light, because it's like, you know, one of a few people. But you know, here I kind of want to show them as, you know, and of course these Zulu are different from those, know, obviously, you know, but I wanted to like, you know, have the stuff we have, you know, look and say, you know, yeah, this is what royalty wears, this is what so and so, you know, like I just want you to be in a world where, you know, that's the case. Like it's kind of hard to explain that, but you know, I want to pull you into that kind of stuff, because you know it's all war. Like you could probably ask me about any spot in St. Thomas, any aspect of the war, I could probably explain it, because it's a lot, honestly, but it's a lot, but not so a lot that it's overwhelming. You know, I kind of put stuff in the story and it progresses naturally as it is, because there's a lot, but you won't get it presented as a lot.
Yeah.
But I you mentioned the Little Mermaid thing, and I know you said you didn't really want to get into it, but the only thing I want to add to that is that I find like now in the world, like it's there's too much teams. Either you're on this side or that side, and sometimes like, you know, opinions, you know, people aren't forming their own opinions anymore. And when it comes to the, I'll just say, well, my opinion is like, and like you said, like I see both sides. I understand why it's important to, like you said, for people of our color, our demographic, our race, to see ourselves, you know, in the shining light, you know, as the, you know, the main character, as the, you know, the hero of the story, and as, you know, something to inspire you to something to look up to. But I also see the same side of people that, you know, that are like, you know, for lack of a better term, like comic book purists, that, you know, when they first saw Superman, they saw him wearing blue tights, red cape, you know, and there's a white guy with black hair, and that's all they see Superman as. So I understand both sides. So for people that, you know, when they first saw Ariel, they saw her as, you know, a white girl with red hair, and, you know, that's what they know her to be. I do understand the purists, but I also understand the, you know, the other side, where people, you know, they want to see more roles of, you know, more leading roles go to like African Americans, so that they can inspire the children to, you know. So I get both sides, but I don't see why it's such a polarizing thing that you know.
You're either for one or for the other.
Yeah, you're either for one or for the other. It's
like for me, and like kind of to go back to like, you know, the Black Panther stuff and this book, just and a lot of things, honestly, it's, and I let our friends like talk about the same topic. To me, the biggest thing is less on the race the person playing the role, and more on how that affects the role, you know, like, as in, they could have, in my opinion, with Ariel, they could sub her out for anybody else, and granted, probably still be problems, but to me, it wouldn't be something that would like affect the story, because, you know, you can't change T'Challa to someone who isn't a black person. you cannot. That's key to the character. So that to me is where I would see a problem. You know?
Of course.
If a person's look is key to the character, then that's something you can't change. You know, where if Ariel as a mermaid somehow, her being, you know, a European of some sort was key to her character, then I would see the problem. And I would then be saying, you know, oh, you should have just made a different story and so on. But if it's not key to the character, then to me, you know, you don't have much people complaining about the race of characters in Hamilton, right? Because it's theater, and you know, there's only so much people they could pull from. You know, there's only so much people skilled to that level to do that kind of stuff. So they gotta take what they could take. But you know, in my opinion, what matters, like I cannot change Julie from who she is to tell the story I'm trying to tell. I can't change all of that stuff because it's not going to be reflective of the island. Cause I can't spoil reasons, but there's reasons why they're going to look like that. You know, there's reasons why I need to have, like, you know, people representative of St. Thomas there. Not just black people, of course, but people representative of island's population in this story. There's a reason why. You know?
That makes sense. I get that. Again, I mean, I was trying to avoid it, but here we are.
Yeah, I mean,
the whole area, like the whole aerial thing. When I first thought it was like, when I first heard it, I was like, oh, okay, whatever, you know. It didn't really think too much of it, but I don't think people are now forming this opinion that, you know, Disney did this on purpose to cause the controversy and to help sell the movie. I don't believe that.
You know?
Because personally, like, if you, like, I've seen her in other interviews and stuff, I'm like, I don't blame them. Like, if you hear her voice, she almost like, if you just turn the screen off, turn it away from the screen, and just listen to her voice, she literally sounds like Ariel. I like, that's, if I didn't know what she looked like, and I was a movie producer, and I mean, I haven't heard all the other candidates, but she has a very childlike, majestic speech pattern that I think would be perfect for the Little Mermaid.
Yeah, that's why I say it doesn't. To me, it only matters. Like it only would be an issue if the role was dependent on
the race.
Yeah, and it's like, and as I say, like, you know, if it's something else, that's when I say you could, like, for like other Disney princesses, if you want to go there, you know, you could change.
Well, you can't really change.
You can't
change Jasmine, really.
Yeah, that's what I say.
Or
you can't,
Mulan.
You can't change Jasmine. You can't change Mulan.
Yeah.
You could probably change Steven, but you can't change Tiana.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, there's some you could change, and some not. You know, where it's a matter of, you know, whether that who they are is key to their character. You know, Mulan. In particular, Mulan's story would be cancelled so hard if things were a little different, because that would be bordering on what was that one movie the last time? I forget what it was, but
the last time, right?
Yeah, it would be like, that'd be so, like, actually specifically Mulan you could not change. Like, you can't change a few others, like the same thing with Tiana. You can't tell the same story if you changed who Tiana is.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, you can't tell the same. It'd be kind of weird explaining if you change Jasmine. You know, some characters, you know, you just, it would be weird to have them change, you know, but some others, you know, it makes sense, you know. So that's why I say for this one here, you know, it's
not like mermaids are real people, you know what I mean? It's not like a mermaid is a real thing.
And even beyond that, some of the other series for Little Mermaid, we've seen other mermaids that aren't just one race. There's other different color, and all the multiple different color mermaids we've seen in other Little Mermaid stuff, even in the movie itself, I believe. So it's not to say that there aren't even black women, because we see them in the show all the time. So I don't see what's the issue.
What annoys me a lot, I mean, on both sides, people are trying so hard to convince why it shouldn't or shouldn't be, and I even seen people going as far as saying, oh, mermaids were originally black and all that. I'm like, it doesn't need all that.
Mermaids aren't real.
Mermaids aren't real. Like, it's just, but
to me, it's like, to me as a writer, you know, bring back, is whatever you need to tell the story, put that in place. You know, if there's something that might be a little contentious, you know, maybe you could talk about it, but if it does not fundamentally change the efficiency of the story, you know, it's kind of like, you know, getting tires for your car. Unless one of the tires you get, you know, if the tire you're getting for like your other wheel is like a different brand from the others, as long as it's not too small or too big, as long as it has, like, you know, the proper grip, as long as it's not totally smooth, I don't see an issue. Like, yeah, it's a different brand from the other 3 tires, but as long as the car's going efficiently, it doesn't cause it to break down later, it doesn't wear out, then it should be good. Like my thing is, the efficiency of how well you get the story to be told, and as long as that's not affected, I don't have no issues.
I agree, 100%. 100%.
Getting back into the video game thing, it's actually I don't know if you heard about the new Captain America Black Panther game that's coming out.
Oh no, I don't think I've ever heard of it.
Yeah.
Looks pretty good.
There's a Marvel's actually.
I mean, they haven't really showed any gameplay or anything of it, but I like just the concept of it. I'm like, I like that because well documented. I'm a big Captain America fan, but on top of that, now you have Black Panther, and it's taking place in World War One, I think. World War Two.
Yeah, probably 2 because
Two, yeah.
Captain America wasn't born yet.
Yeah, it was in World War Two. Think of it in that era, and it's not T'Challa; it's actually his grandfather.
That's
So-
interesting.
It's like just that concept alone, and I like that. And I guess you get to pick from 4 different characters: either Captain America, Black Panther, or I think another soldier, or a guard, like
From the Dora Milaje.
from Dora Milaje, I think.
Yeah, I don't know now. I'm just imagining like the one Black Panther Captain America out here fighting like fist fighting Rommel, who's I don't know somehow powered up in a desert North Africa. I'm just imagining this, and it just sounds amazing already.
So yeah, and it's it's dealing with, because to me it culturally it should be a very interesting game, because not only you have Captain America, Star Spangled Man, but you also have the African influence with the Black Panthers, and the different African warriors that are going to be in the game. But they're over in Europe, you know what I mean? So now you also have that whole European aesthetics, World War II aesthetics, Nazi Hydra thing going on. So I think it has enough interesting things there. Was like, I really hope this game is a hit, not just because I'm a Captain America fan, but there hasn't been a really good Captain America game in a long time, and I think this, and it's been, it should be a next gen game, so it's at least aesthetically, it should be good. I hope personally, I hope it's not going to be one of these movie rip-off games that
They just do
all
this
the
for-
other Captain America games have been. I hope it's actually something more like let's say the Spider-Man game, or something along those lines.
I just want a game that's fun to play. It don't even have to look half as good as someone. It just needs to be. And I mean, I could say that because like I said, I'm playing like Kenshi looks like a PlayStation 1 game. All the fans of that game say this looks like some crap out of PlayStation 1 and it's optimized like trash. But we love it anyways. Like a lot of games I play
I
are
like that.
not graphically wild.
Yeah.
Even though I have a system, I have a computer now that can run
Mm.
really graphically and stuff. But I just be playing. Most like low poly,
Obscure.
like obscure games, and just having time of my life.
Yeah.
And with all the African influence that we were talking about, one thing we failed to mention is that new movie, The Lady King,
Mm.
that just came out. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm hearing a lot of great things about it. Some people are even saying it's like the next Black Panther, but even more so because it's focused around women. And whenever you pull that demographic, then
And actually, funny enough, like
printing money.
yeah, funny enough, like while it wasn't, the intention is there, but not for the exact same reasons.
Mm.
Cause after the second, the third book for Julian, which I'm working on the second book, I'm still concepting the third book.
Mm.
Cause you know how I am.
Mm.
I just go straight in, and that's actually like going to be like a big factor in that third book. The kind of, and that's how come like another thing why. I guess another thing you could talk about that you can't change.
Mm.
I need Julie to be a woman, or a girl, I guess as so far in the story, to tell the story I'm being told, because that's also a key part of a character, So the third book is going to have like a big kind of look at that, It's kind of like a whole different, multifaceted argument about, how in their culture a woman is and what they go through in their world, And it's gonna be. It's going to be interesting to say the least, There's going to be like a lot of different sides in respect to that, Especially compared for like Taha, where... Because I mean, funny enough, actually, one of the things I don't think I probably ever struggled with it, but I thought I struggled with it, was writing female characters because I'm not
Not a
a
female.
woman at the end of the day. And I was thinking like, well, how the heck do I
Relate to that?
encapsulate someone's entire being,
Mm.
like billions of people's them, just who they are
Mm.
and how variant that can be. in one go, you know, and that's something I felt I struggled with, but I kind of learned after a while that I probably didn't, because on the whole, you know, as complicated as the topic could be, most writers will kind of tell you that while, you know, it's not that simple at the same time, but the simple fact that kind of came to is write a good character
Mm-hmm.
and then incorporate them being a woman as an important part of the character, and you probably, that advice probably won't lead you wrong, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But in her case, especially for that third book, so far it hasn't been the biggest importance in the first two books when it comes to that, you know, her journey and stuff like that. But that third book is going to be a very big, I guess you say, discourse on that subject, you know, on how, because, you know, the ruins in the world is, you know, it's a warrior culture and kind of ends up being chiefly patriarchal, you know. So it's kind of seeing how that like affects, you know, just their world, not just the women but also the men too, because, you know, all that affects how the world's set up is going to affect everybody, like regardless, you know. So that's going to be a very big topic and mainstay of the third book.
Cool. Something to look forward to. Have you seen Lady King yet, or?
Mm-mm.
I think it's in the theaters.
I was pretty to watch at one point.
Yeah, I do as well. I mean, I think like we mentioned on the podcast stuff. Maybe I don't think it was the last one, but the one before. It's definitely, it's, to me personally, like it's the place filler until we get Black Panther 2. You know what I mean? It's a nice, you know. I'm sure it'll give you a lot of that vibe. So it's like it's gonna be a nice little.
Yeah,
You know.
no, I don't like, sometimes I feel like, I don't want to say I feel fun with historical movies, but some ways like they can be done could be, because I've heard someone talking about it recently where, you know, because I being like a historian myself, because a big influence is history when it comes to these kind of stuff, you know, is I've seen a lot of the history of the African queens, and many African queens are very powerful, very strong, and extremely high level mass murderers, which, you know, of course isn't independent of them. That's almost all kings and queens who stay in power, and if you don't, you probably have been killed by someone who's going to become a mass murderer.
Yes.
You know, so so I know I heard someone like kind of giving that, I don't want to say it's a critique because that's actually the history of the person, and of course, you know, the nature of conflict, you know, that's just stuff that happens, you know. But you know, sometimes I'm very careful when it comes to those movies, because it's like you want to talk about a person but don't celebrate them too. You want to like, you want to glorify some of their achievements, not all the achievements, you know.
Yeah.
I want to be glad and say you ruled powerfully. I want to be glad that you did what you did. I don't want to be glad about how you massacred and burned down 15 villages. That's the problem. Even though those things are kind of required to do. You know, but and you know, that's not exactly that concept, but you know, in their world, you know, women typically, there are probably more female warriors in their world than you would see in, like, you know, like a lot of different stuff of that nature. But you know, that actually is a big discourse for them, because, you know, like a big thing in that story in the third book, like I don't really consider spoilers because it's like a big topic that's gonna be there. One of the characters, you know, is a very strong warrior, and there's a lot of arguments surrounding her because she kind of gets up here and says, I am a Zulu, you know, and Zulu exists in two places of being, like, you know, some of them are like, you know, against her because it's like, you know, oh, a Zulu could only be a man, that is a role, you know, that a warrior would play, so, you know, you can't be. And then, you know, there's a lot of other warriors who are like, you know, a Zulu needs to be a strong warrior. She is a strong warrior, so she is a Zulu, that's it. Yeah, I can't beat her, so she could say what she wants. You know, that kind of dialogue. Or rather, like, you know, she's as strong as me, or she is so strong I acknowledge her, so she is a Zulu, I say that, you know. So that's like actually a big, you know, and I guess even in the first book, you know, a big issue that Julie kind of runs into sometimes is that certain people just don't respect her or acknowledge her because she's a girl, you know, and they just feel that, you know, what she says, what she has to do, her responsibilities just don't matter because, you know, just because of that, you know, you belong somewhere else, not in my court telling me not to burn on a village. You don't, you shouldn't be one telling me to do that, you know. Even though as a queen, I should probably explain that. She's not, when it calls her Queen of the Ruins, she's not so much a queen as in she's a
She's
royalty. She's like, she's not that. But you know, like Queen Mary in St. Croix and how she led the rebellion. That's actually where the seat comes from in the cover. That's based off of the Queen Mary statue in Denmark that they made for her. That's how come the stance deposed or holding 2 items.
Mm.
That's where this cover got inspired from.
Oh, okay.
Mm.
And in their world, well, there are actual kings and queens, but a king and queen in that sense is considered like a wise leader, you know, someone who, you know, usually in their belief system is chosen by God to kind of keep the peace or keep order at least. You know, it's kind of like how the Avatar, you know, used to be, and you know, after the last Airbender, where, you know, they themselves aren't, you know, some really important like big, like they are important, but it's like, you know, they can kind of go where they want and say what they want, and of course it's your choice to listen to them, but you know that they were the ones chosen to bring about balance. So if you want balance, you won't listen to them. You know, that's kind of how the kings and queen in this story are given that role. You know, so when you are, you know, become that role, then you are kind of pull up in a king's court and says, "Hey, stop doing this dumb stuff." And the king, you know, if the king doesn't want to listen to you, the rest of the people in his court are going to like be pestering him for the next 2 months, being like, "She said you shouldn't do this," you know. And honestly, like the last 200 years, when they told people not to do something dumb, they did it and things went well. So you should probably listen to her. You know, it's that kind of stuff. You know, there's like a cultural reason for that. You know, so that's why, you know, for context, why she's called Queen of the Ruins, because she's not the only one. There's also many other different kings and queens. They're just around, kind of just many times keeping peace in their respective area or territory, but they'll also kind of go around and say to other places, you know, and try to keep the peace, try to keep some semblance of order, you know, and that's part of the role she plays and the role she's trying to like grow into, you know.
Very cool, man. So, where can people pick up your book? I know it's very well put together and everything. Is it something that's only online, or is it in any bookstores, or someone to pick up a copy of this? How can they get it?
Well, the main methods of getting this book will mainly be, you know, I guess through messaging me on Facebook or whatever, like, you know. And I guess I'm a fairly easy person to reach and find. I have a Facebook group for this and my regular own page, so you could find me there, you know, Howard Jones. It's going to be a picture of me, but like 7 years ago holding my first book, you know. I look the exact same then, so you won't get confused. I'm easily recognizable. I have not aged since 15. You know, and then the other method is I have the book available on lulu.com, so you can order the book through that website as well. So, and soon enough, I'm trying to get in the process of making an ebook version of it. I don't think the process will take too long, but it'll take a little while to, you know, put it together. But I'm also working on an ebook version of it, so, you know, that's also something to keep in mind. But, and you know, and if you want a signed copy, then, you know, you'd message me. I'm physically, you know, on island here. I'm available. I can also, you know, if you're away, I can also, you know,
Sign and mail.
yeah, I can send in the mail. Still learning that process a little bit though. I always forget whenever I come to the post office how to send a box, you know. But I'm always around, and, you know, I'm glad to like take questions and stuff like that. I, you know, help out with other like, you know, young or growing writers and stuff like that. So if you want to get the book through there, it's, you know, either lulu.com and just type in the name of the book, Julian, Queen of the Ruins.
That's Lulu, Lulu?
Yeah.
Okay.
And, you know, either that or you would just, you know, find me on Facebook, message me. I plan to try see if I can get more easier methods of finding me, you know, better social media presence. You know, that's something I'm still working on. You know, I would probably have come here with a big QR code or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, also, I mean, if you're listening to the podcast, and, you know, we will plug all his stuff in the description. But if for whatever reason you maybe missed it there, if you come to the lounge, we'll definitely get you his contact info. We do have the book on display, so if you want to see, you know, the quality and, you know, all that kind of stuff, you can come check it out.
And also, here's an idea. If you when the future books get released, you can probably do like book signings here at the lounge. You know?
Yeah, we could do this every setup for the book signings. Anything we can do to help, we definitely want to, you know.
Yeah, 'cause I'm definitely like working on like the whole pushing out. I probably plan to do a bit more once I get the ebook version of this stuff, because I need to get off my butt and do it, because I've just been like
Dragging your feet on it.
yeah, these days I've just been like, you know, out of work, and I get home from work, I'm just like, okay, Minecraft time, because I there's too much stuff to process today, you know. So I'm trying to really like get back into the swing of things. The motivation's there, the energy's not.
Yeah, it's
you know,
like that sometimes.
yeah, it's just a matter of like, you know, life coming at you, and, you know, and I suppose it was like a degree of a time where I forgot how important, like, you know, this was to me, like I kind of got so focused on work and other things in life that I really forgot that this was the main, like my original plan was to just work so I could make money to push my books. But somehow you end up, sometimes you lose focus on what you're doing and you start focusing on the work and treat the books like a side piece. But really, this is my main thing. This is supposed to be my job. This is my career. This is me.
Yeah.
And everything else is just here to support.
To help that, yeah. There you go.
100%. I mean, I can definitely relate, because work and everything was when we went to work, Main Street, all that stuff is, and right now I still do work on Main Street, but it is to support the lounge and podcast and gaming culture. What we do here is, this is us. This is our legacy. This is what we're gonna leave behind. The work stuff is just to support this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
And that's the main thing. Is like, I think to keep. I feel like we kind of like in our culture we kind of get unless your hobby directly makes you lots of money, we usually get to told like. We not told directly, but
we
our
get told.
culture kind of pushes.
We get told all the time. Like I can definitely relate. People like what we're about to say. There's people tell us why are you wasting time with that? Get a real job. We hear all these arguments all the time.
Yeah, it's
all
funny.
the time.
It's always funny to hear people say that kind of stuff where it's like oh, you don't need an art degree, or you don't need a writing degree, and then they just go sit down there and watch Game of Thrones. And I'm just there like, how, they just be like, they're probably be sitting there like, man, people ain't making good shows like they used to, and it's like, yeah, cause you told them to go Walmart,
Exactly, yep.
Like, why are you surprised? You think that these things just come out of thin air? Like, that's what people think?
100%.
They don't realize how much, like, because it's like, I don't be in a factory sweating hard and I just dip my hand into straight molten lava and pull out a book,
Yeah.
And,
Exactly.
and when you don't do that and people start seeing it, it's like, well, it's not real work,
Yep.
Or if you're not like, walk into an office and give some big speech and they just Walmart physically throws a bunch of money in your face and it rains on you like, Wolf of Wall Street, then they're like, it's not a real job.
Exactly.
Yep.
That's kind of how it gets treated, so they people, because the work on this, you don't really see it. And I don't think I want you to see me huddled in a dark room in front of the screen just for like 6 hours. I don't know if I want you to see that in the first place. So.
I mean that goes a long way, because even here, like, and even in doing the work, like there's a lot of work that goes into like stuff like like the podcast. There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that goes into like the lounge. So a lot of people don't see that. They only see the outside things, they think the kind of glorified things. Even just yesterday, there was a family that came here, and their son just happened to find us online. They're from St. John. I forgot their names. I'll shout them out right now. But the son looked us up. Saw that St. Thomas had a video game lounge, arcade / anime store. He wanted to check it out. They came here, and the parents were like kind of like questioning me and asking me like so like what do you do here? And I was giving them the whole rundown of the lounge and all the different things that we do, and the dad was asking me like how did this come about, and I was giving the full story, which we went over many times on the podcast, but I'll just brief through it, as far as us, just started out as a Facebook page, just to organize gamers to come play video games. We eventually started doing live events, but with our live events we used to rent different spaces here and there.
Yeah.
And it kind of grew from that. And then we started doing the podcast. We were right across over here where the realtor is, right across the way here, doing the podcast for a while. And then COVID happened, and then our lease was up over there, and then we were, we always wanted to do the lounge, and we looked around, couldn't find anything. Turns
Affordable.
out perfectly that right across the way here was available, and our lease was up there, and this was available. Like, it's a bigger space. We already knew the landlord and everything, so we just we worked it out, and then here we are, and now 2 years later now, almost.
Yeah.
Been going strong, and then even the father was like, man, like I love your life, like because I was telling him everything about the baby and having a twin brother and everything. He's like, man, I really love your life, like you seem to have everything figured out. It sounds good. You see the outside and it's pretty, but the behind the scenes stuff is is where the work actually lies, and it. Going back to that and all the struggles we had to do to get to where we are, and I'm sure you had some struggles to get maybe even your first book published, and I'm sure there's a lot of maybe sleepless nights and concerns or things that came up during your the process. But you know, everyone they see the finished book and they're like, man, that's cool, that's awesome, but people don't see the work
Yeah,
that goes into
They don't see the people that you thought would be happy for you, not happy for you or telling you not to do it. They don't see all that, and like,
Because honestly speaking, like the amount of like,
I actually still have it here for that matter. Like, I don't know how well they could see this. Like this scraggly, like rough looking
book.
I don't know which I don't know which to put to see.
yeah, the camera's there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you know, like this here, you know, is the
Stuff falling out of it.
yeah.
And
See,
all.
this is where I put the ideas together when I was in the military when I was in Georgia, So this has been through cold, rain, heat, lots and lots and lots of heat and cold, lots of sand from doing push-ups because it was in my pocket and my people were kind of stupid, so they would all be making us do push-ups. You're either dumb or strong in the army. You have to pick one. And but this whole book is like where I wrote down the ideas, and this was over the span of like years. Like I spent years. But granted, it only took me about a year to write the book, but that's because of the years the years I put in concepting, taking ideas, developing them, putting a lot, and then throwing them out because I didn't like it and stuff like that. To some degree, that process is still going on even now, even though like a lot of stuff's being established. And the scary part in writing is that when you have like a concept that you built up and like the stories around you, now you just like, shoot, I don't like it now, or shoot,
Or is there things that you would change, but it's
yeah, you don't want to like. I
It's
don't
canon
like,
now.
I definitely don't like retconning and stuff. I don't
Yeah.
like doing that. I do everything in my power to make sure that stuff is stable and put together
Grounded
before.
and,
I don't like having to do stuff. I specifically put in a lot of effort not to write myself into a corner because it's very easy to write yourself into a corner.
Yep. Well, I mean, we're definitely proud of you, and I definitely look forward to actually getting the chance to read the book and the future iterations of it. The different stories, see what comes of it. But another suggestion, maybe I don't know if you ever looked into like maybe getting like you said the ebook version, but you ever thought of looking into like Amazon, like getting it like a Kindle version? Because that's more mainstream way of
The good thing
ebooks
is
and stuff.
there is an option through Lulu to get my stuff onto Amazon, but Amazon doesn't. Amazon has this thing where they're like a multi-billion-dollar industry, and they have that money for a reason. So you don't make money from Amazon. Amazon makes money from you.
Pretty much.
So I'll probably be getting like $2 to like between something cents, 80 something cents, and like $2 each sale on Amazon if I sold this book there. As compared to like even through Lulu, I only get about like, even the book is like costs like $25. I only get about $8 per thing. Which like I said, I don't want to say this to say that it's not about the money, because I need money.
We all do. Same with the lounge,
Yeah, I need money, and I prefer when people buy it from me because I get more money, which the money I use is to buy more books, to make more money to buy more books and to publish more books. Like that's kind of like the money I make from these typically doesn't like go into my pocket; it just kind of goes right back into keeping the books going. So
I know what that's like.
Yeah, I usually prefer to get.
Very familiar with that.
Yeah, so, yeah. The more money I get like by selling it, the better. So that's why I usually prefer they do it through Lulu or through me. But I imagine like once I get a lot more like successful and capable with the books, I plan to probably like give it a bigger presence on other sites like Amazon and stuff like that too.
Yeah. Can definitely relate to that. What you're talking like the money that comes in, it goes right back into the thing to keep the baby alive. Yeah, you gotta feed the baby to You have the baby, you gotta feed it. So
Yep.
if you don't feed it, it dies.
Yep.
Yeah, this was definitely a good session. I definitely enjoyed our session here this afternoon.
Yep. Very quickly, we're gonna go into some fight talk things. There was a UFC this past weekend. Luckily for us, it wasn't a big UFC. It was more of a smaller card. Only there was a lot of preliminary fights that were there were decent fights all the way around. One person I would say to look out for on the prelims that stood out to me was the Loma Lookboonmee fight.
Lookboonmee, yeah.
That's definitely a fighter to look out for. She's one of the true Muay Thai fighters that are coming up in the UFC and in the strawweight division. That's definitely a fighter to look out for. There were two fights on the main card. that obviously grabbed my attention. Of course, the main event, and then of course your co-main event that had Gregory Rodriguez versus Chidi.
Yeah, Chidi Njokuani.
Yeah, I wasn't even gonna bother.
That was
That's
a
not pronounced.
Yeah,
I think it's of African descent.
yeah.
And
Very interesting fight. Chidi started out very hot. He was doing great things.
I thought he was gonna win. I
Thought he was
think
gonna
he was my pick for sure.
He was definitely my pick to win. He gave Rodriguez, aka RoboCop, a pretty nasty cut over his nose, like one of the
worst cuts you've seen in UFC in a long time.
yeah, because it was right across
The
here,
bridge
and this whole thing was kind of open.
falling down. Yeah,
It
it
was
was.
kind of open hand. You could see like nose bridge.
Yeah.
It was rough, and it was bleeding a lot. And they were looking to stop the fight.
They were looking to stop the fight, but the good thing they didn't because Rodriguez. ended up-
Rodriguez ended up winning the fight in the second round. So hats off to him for that.
Also, of course, also on the main card, Joe Pyfer, who's
Yes,
he's now taking on. He's now becoming very popular.
he's becoming a rising star right now because of course, his stint with the
Contender Series. Yeah, we're just gonna touch on that real quickly because I
Very
love-
interesting story.
I love Contender Series. I watch it every Tuesday. Unfortunately, next Tuesday is gonna be the last.
Next week is the last week of it. Yeah.
Unfortunately, but Joe Pyfer, for those of you who didn't know, he was on last season. Not even this season. He was on last season. He lost because he dislocated he broke his arm. He was getting taken down. He put his arm down, snap, broke it. And if anybody knows, Contender Series is how people try to get on the UFC. It's your one shot.
Yeah, one fight. If you
You
win
get one fight.
impressively,
Not even if you can't just win. You
you
have
gotta
to
win impressively. Yeah.
You get a chance to be in the UFC. So for a lot of fighters, it's their way to get in. Their one shot, And that was his shot, and he broke his arm, so he's done. You still have to rehab that, and even after that, if you still want to fight, you got to go back to the drawing board.
Mm-hmm.
He not only rehabbed his arm, continued fighting, but got another shot on the show, the Contender Series this season, of which he not only won. It was like the second. Is it the second or the first card in this season of Contenders,
Mm-hmm.
where he was the one guy that wanted it. For some reason, everybody's energy on that episode of the Contenders, they were like, it had this kind of entitlement, like, I guess they had good records, and they were like, some guys were just kind of coasting to victories.
They're all cocky, kind of.
The one guy in particular was all cocky. I couldn't stand him. But Joe Pyfer was the one that wanted to be there. He knew what it meant to be on the Contenders. He came there, he did it, he won impressively.
Mm-hmm.
And Dana White was so upset with the whole card. He just came cause usually they do the whole interview and it's, usually takes a long process. He's like, nope. He came on the mic and he said, if you want a contract in the UFC, you got to be Joe Pyfer, and left. Meaning he was the only one that got a contract that night. And it made a lot of headlines. It's all over the social media and whatnot. But yeah, this is the same Joe Pyfer. We say all that to say that this is that guy.
Yeah, he got his first fight in the UFC.
And then he got his first fight in the UFC, and he hasn't took his foot off the gas yet.
Yep, he showed up,
He showed up and showed out.
won impressively in the
First
first
round
round.
TKO.
Yep.
And then he disclosed a lot of things that in terms of how the UFC and Dana White, more importantly, helped him out because apparently,
After his fight that he got his contract, he was going back to being homeless.
Mhm.
This is a guy that he was
gave
going
up-
back to nothing.
he
Pretty
gave
much.
up his job, everything, just to be on the Contender.
This is a Street Fighter character in real life.
Pretty much. He gave up everything, and Dana White hearing that, Dana White gave him a house, gave him some pocket change as well as his purse to fight. So, people, this is one of the things that Dana White always gets a bad rap for, being very brash, very in your face, swears a lot. People usually criticize him for UFC pay and all that stuff, but people don't see this side of him. Where he helps out a lot of people. A lot of what he does doesn't get reported. I mean, this wasn't anything that was in the news. That was, this is come from Joe Pyfer's mouth, just saying, "Hey, thank you for doing this for me." You know what I mean? And I feel if more fighters did that, he probably wouldn't have such a bad rap.
Yeah, because I remember a few months ago, but maybe even a year ago when Bobby Green.
Same thing.
Yeah, when Bobby Green was talking about with when his brother died, Dana White paid for the funeral and everything, and the UFC they don't announce those stuff, but it's only when fighters say it when you hear that the lighter side of the organization. So
Even more recently, Chris Barnett. Chris Barnett? Yes, Chris. The heavyweight that won last week or the week before. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I know you're talking about. I forgot his name though.
Yeah.
I'll look it up real quick.
Is Chris Barnett? No. Chris Barnett is
Chris Barnett is the War Master.
Is the War Master, not him. But,
I hope that's a
Oh no, wait.
nickname.
His name is Chris Barnett as well. Yeah, that is a nickname.
yeah, Chris, yeah. Even with him, when his I think his brother died as well too. UFC took care of him as well. So it's just safe. It's just saying, Dana White's a good guy. Get off Dana White. You know what I mean?
People give him a hard
So
time.
many people give him a hard time. The man knows what he's doing. He's taken the sport from what it is to where it is now, and yeah, Dana White's a good guy.
Yep.
Uh,
Then the main event,
Main
of course,
event.
was Corey Sandhagen versus Song Yadong, which, of course, I think we both are rooting for Song because Song is no joke.
Song is no joke. I wanted Song to win, but
He ran into a buzzsaw of Corey Sandhagen, which Corey Sandhagen has had a big chip on his shoulder,
and
given his more recent losses
Mhm.
in his career. He was a guy that came out hot,
and
did a lot of work, and then had a couple losses, but now he's back on the winning curve.
And Song definitely needed this loss in terms of he was getting pushed. He's getting pushed kind of quickly. I mean, he has had a number of fights now in the UFC and he's been doing great, but he hasn't had enough fights in the upper echelon. So I think this fight's going to help him. I still felt he had a decent shot, but just like the co-main, Song got a really bad cut,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that affected a lot because the ball was getting into his eye. And
Yeah,
Song,
major cut over his eyebrow, and it was.
it was bad.
It was getting worse, and the doctor I remember there was the round before it was stopped. Doctor they told the ref keep an eye on that cut. If it gets any bigger, stop the fight.
Mhm.
And so said, so done, because it was getting pretty gnarly.
Pretty bad.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for that, I think the fight could have been a little closer. But again, Sandhagen did throw that elbow intentionally to do that. He threw those nice inside elbows,
Mm-hmm.
and
Open him
so
up.
He did what he was supposed to do.
And I think what made the cut worse is because it was a cut, yes, but then the swelling from the hit it started swelling underneath the cut, and it was kind of opening up the cut.
Opening up the cut, yeah.
So it was pretty gnarly.
Pretty gnarly. But I think Song will be back. I think he needs more fights of these kind of
In
caliber
the
fighters.
top 10,
he
top
needs,
5,
He needs
yeah.
some top 5 fights to really push yourself to the next. Because unless you fight those kind of people, you don't know what you're capable of.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So I do hope Song gets another shot eventually, and he'll be back. I mean, he's gonna be gone for a while now because that cut's gonna take some while to heal. But I still have high hopes for Song. He has great takedown defense, and being a stand-up striker, he's gonna need that. And I think he
And he hits hard too.
he'll be back. He cracks, so that's always a plus.
Yep. There's no UFC this weekend, so there is that. We'll get you caught up next week on upcoming card on that. But other MMA announcements. Jose Aldo retired.
Jose Aldo retired.
Jose are officially retired. Jose Aldo, we always call him our triplet because he was born the exact same day as us, September 9th, 1986. Well, we were born in Dallas. He was born in Brazil, and he's had quite the career in the mixed martial arts. Done a lot for Brazilian MMA and UFC. Helped grow the sport. He's always one of my favorite fighters. And he finally retired. He fought 2 weeks ago, I think it was, and he suffered a loss, and I guess that was it. He is in MMA age. You're up there in age when you're past 30. He's now 36.
The
so.
ancient being pointed in.
Yeah.
Start pushing 29 and just look at this elder
Yeah.
master of the sport. This ancient being.
He made it to 36, and there are some fighters that are in their 40s and fighting, which is crazy. But yeah, so hats off to him. Thanks to all the years of
Yep.
moments. He was always
I mean,
exciting to watch.
there's really nothing left for him to do. He's been
champion.
WEC champion, UFC champion twice.
Then he was one of the longest
He's one of the longest tenured featherweights.
Yeah, so hats off to him.
And he was the initial featherweight.
Yeah, he was a
When they
initial
first opened
featherweight
up the
champion.
division, yeah, he was.
This sounds like equal in real life.
There you go.
So yeah, he's done it all. There was really no point to sticking around and just taking damage for no reason. You know what I mean?
Yep, and he just had a baby too, so he's
Could he have
he remains to be our
maybe
triplet.
become champion again? It would be tough, but I felt like he could. But also to in this sport, it's always evolving, and the top guys are always getting better. You know what I mean? Somehow, some way, they find a way to get better, and sometimes the sport can pass you by, and it was slowly passing him by
a little bit, yeah.
a little bit because I mean, that too, and he wasn't fighting the way he usually fights, but it's been well documented.
Comes
on
with
his
age,
platform.
yeah.
It comes with age. But yeah,
And he owns a couple chain of restaurants and stuff like that in Brazil, so he's gonna be all right. You know, does his own thing. So, yeah, congratulations.
This never gonna get robbed.
no.
This store's gonna never get robbed.
He's well loved in Brazil.
Yeah, they
I don't know
love
if
him.
I don't know who's loved more between him and Anderson Silva, but
They're
those guys are
loved.
loved in Brazil. They're almost like
He might be etching out on Anderson for the simple fact that Anderson no longer lives in Brazil.
there is that. Anderson moved to the States, and Jose Aldo never left Brazil,
Never left Brazil,
so he is like the king of Brazil, pretty
which
much.
is like a next. I mean, yeah, that is actually his nickname, the King of Rio. So, and it was hats off to him because a lot of people feel like you have to go to the States to be, top UFC. A lot of guys from other countries they move to the States to further their MMA career, but sometimes
You can do it at home
you can do it at home.
and be the best in the world at it. So, shout out to him for that.
Also, too, just to as we're talking about all that kind of stuff, Carl Williams, who is from the Virgin Islands, that recently was on the Contender Series and got a UFC contract, the first Virgin Islander to be in the UFC. Apparently, the UFC sent a film crew to his house,
Oh yeah.
so I think they're planning on pushing him. I think they like that aspect of him being from the Virgin Islands, and his next fight, I think, is going to be like usually when before the fights they do a little. His fight's gonna have that. I thought that was gonna be interesting because I put the post in the chat
Yeah.
of the official UFC film crew at his house. So I think whatever he's gonna be on the next card. I mean, and
We try our best to push him.
we're trying our best.
Most people don't even know he exists, which is unfortunate.
The most
He's
unfortunate thing.
The first and only person representing the Virgin Islands in not just
Yeah.
MMA but UFC, which is the height. I mean, there's other
There's
fighters from the Virgin Islands and
in other organizations, but no one's made it to the UFC.
no one's been to the UFC, and he's actually made it to the UFC.
You like which part of the island you from? Oh, which
St.
island?
Thomas.
St. Thomas.
He's from St. Thomas.
It's from right here.
Right around St. Thomas, and he's fighting in the UFC. And it looks like not everybody. I mean, I thought it was a big deal that he had the film crew there
Yeah,
because
because not everyone gets that.
there's a lot of people that their first fight. He hasn't even had his first fight yet,
This is true.
and he already has a film crew there. If he plays his cards right, he could be at least a halfway decent star because he fights pretty good too. He has the right basis to win a lot of fights, which is wrestling. His wrestling is on point. So I think if somehow, some way we can get more people onto shine some light on him, we definitely I would love to do it. I've tried to reach out to him. He hasn't replied yet. I'm sure he's a busy man now. Obviously, he's being in the UFC. He doesn't have time for the small guys. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, definitely. If anyone that knows him or knows how to best to reach him, we definitely want to talk to him. I feel like there's more should be done. Like we mentioned, I think it was even last week or the week before. We see how Virgin Islanders that know of other Virgin Islanders that are doing big things, how we treat our own, which is we blow it up. It's big time. I mean, look at Aaliyah Boston.
Yeah.
She has not played professionally yet, but she's already a major star here. This is someone that's in the highest heights in his sports, and people don't know about it. I think it's a travesty. I think more people need to know of this guy.
Yeah.
Carl Williams is his name.
I think it's just tricky really getting people's names out here sometimes. I think it's a matter, I guess, what they do and stuff like that.
Yeah, and how popular you were before doing it.
Yeah,
That's true.
That's a big part. If you probably come from like a family people know about it, you just do stuff that people know about it a bit easier than if you just off the street, you just
Doing big
did
things.
something. Because then it's like we don't have a basis already. You'll just be like, hey, you remember that one partner, right? And it's like, which partner?
Exactly.
Yep, rightfully so.
I feel like people more associate MMA and fighting locally with my brother and I than they do Carl Williams, which I feel is like crazy. Seeing as how we only had an amateur fight. You know what I mean? He's fighting professional.
We never been professional.
Yeah, I don't think I see much people like locally here really talk much about like most we talk about is like
Boxing.
and at the most, at the most from them, that was like I don't think I've ever seen people like really like into those other types of sports except outside of their own like little niche
Bubble.
Groups, yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, whatever we can do to get the word out, we'll do.
for sure. All right. Well,
And that, I think we've accomplished all we've tried to do.
yes, we have. So, it's been a good session here today. We thank you, Howard, for coming by. Definitely check out Howard and his book. on
Julianne, Queen of the Ruins.
on Lulu.com. Or just hit up Howard on Facebook.
Yeah, we will put all his information in the description.
Yep, so you can
Um,
check it out there. And of course, if you continue to like the podcast, be sure to become a supporter. You can become a supporter for as little as $1 a month, and that just continues to bring the podcast, keeps it free, keeps it public, and it helps out the lounge too as well. So with that, you guys continue to be good to each other. Stay safe out there. Isaac Boys and Howard out.